Hello, welcome back to another video. It's Lydia here. So today I'm finally going to be talking about a console that I've been wanting to talk about for quite some time now, and that is the PlayStation 5. Now I've had the PlayStation 5 for about a year and a half, so I've had a really good opportunity to get to know the console, play lots of games that are sort of like the AAA games, the big exclusive games, and just get a really good feel for what I really love about the console. Some games that are definitely some of my favourite games that I've played most of all time, and yeah, I just wanted to give a chat about my collection, my thoughts on the PlayStation 5 in general, and a few titles that I think that you should play too. So a little bit about the console itself. Now I am really enjoying the PlayStation 5. So my general feedback about the console is that it's a really great console. I'm really loving it. I got a 4K TV recently, which means that I'm able to play all of them in the way they're intended to be played. So all the games look really amazing. Some of the best games that I've played have probably been Horizon Forbidden West, which I will get to later. But yeah, just in general, really beautiful looking console. It is a bit chunky. I think it's much more chunkier than the Xbox, so that's maybe a minus, but in general I just really like the look of it. I think it's a really cool looking console, much less boxier than the Xbox. I love the fact that we finally have the PlayStation 4 backwards compatibility. Obviously we didn't have that on the PlayStation 4, so it's really nice to have that, so I've been able to play all of my PlayStation 4 games. Sometimes they're still cheaper than the PlayStation 5 games, and also you still get some free upgrades to the PlayStation 5, so it means you can basically play a slightly cheaper game. Obviously some of the old PlayStation 4 games have also got upgrades to the PlayStation 5, like The Witcher 3, which is really great. I'm loving that feature so far. In general, like, the interface looks really good as well, and yeah, I just really loving the console. And speedy, it's quiet, and yeah, just perfect. Now the controller, really like the controller. I think it looks really sleek. It's not too far away from the last PlayStation controller, which I loved the DualShock 4. I thought it was one of the best controllers that PlayStation have done. I thought it was just a lovely solid feeling controller. It was lovely and ergonomic, and yeah, I just loved the look of it as well. I'm loving this one too. I'm loving the haptic feedback that you're getting on the trigger buttons. It really does make a difference, especially when you're playing first-person shooters, or for example in Horizon Forbidden West, you could feel sort of the feedback of the different arrows and different weapons with the haptic feedback. It's a really cool feature. It does have speakers on the controller, which is not different from the last PlayStation console either, but it just adds another dimension to the PlayStation. It's not got a very good battery life, which is feedback that I had for the PlayStation 4 as well. The battery life on the controllers were pretty poor until the upgraded controllers that they did. I'm expecting this to be the same. I suspect they'll bring out another controller and they'll be much better, but yeah, in the meantime, lovely controller. It's not too heavy, but it's also not too light, so I don't feel like I get sort of fatigued from holding it in my hands. And yeah, I just think it's a really good looking controller. I love all the different see-through buttons, and the different colours that they've brought out have also been really beautiful looking too. So yeah, great controller in my opinion. So my collection so far. God, I'm going to try and show this all on camera. But yeah, as you can see, I've got a pretty chunky collection. Not all of these are mine, some of these are Ant's games. So you'll see stuff like Alan Wake. If you've been following me for a while, you know I'm really not into horror games, so that's definitely not for me. But yeah, some of these are really amazing games, and I'm very excited to talk to you about them. One of my most favourite series is Ratchet Clank, so I'm going to start off with that. Rift Apart. Now, Rift Apart is a really great game. It reminds me a lot of Crack in Time. It's got similar mechanics, but instead you're using dimensions. If you play Crack in Time on the PlayStation 3, that had a playing with time dimension to it, so you got to play around with time to complete different puzzles. This is kind of similar, but you're using dimensions with it, and yeah, there's some really cool weapons on it. If you've ever played a Ratchet Clank game, you'll know that they've just got the most craziest weapons ever. They are so much fun to play. They don't have too many puzzle elements on it, but they have them here and there. And yeah, combat is super fun. It's an absolutely stunning looking game. Really, really, really beautiful. Added a new character to it as well, which is Ratchet's dimension equivalent. It's kind of hard to explain, but yeah, Rivet was a really, really cool character to play as. Really liked her, and yeah, it just had all the silly humour that I love about the Ratchet and Clank games, and it had the bonus of looking beautiful on the PlayStation 5. So recommend getting this game. If you've not played a Ratchet and Clank game before, I would recommend maybe starting with the PlayStation 4 Ratchet and Clank, as that's kind of a remake slash reimagining of the original Ratchet and Clank game. That's probably a good place to start, but also I don't think it's going to be too much of a problem if you start off with Rift Apart, and it's now quite cheap, so I definitely recommend getting this for your PlayStation 5 collection. Next on my list of games that I really, really loved on the PlayStation 5 is, of course, Horizon Forbidden West. Now, Horizon Zero Dawn was an amazing game, but I felt like this added so much more depth to the series. Now, I think not everyone has loved Aloy in this particular game. She's quite strong-willed, but I actually kind of like that she's really stubborn. I really like her character. I think she's super fun. But I think what I really enjoyed about the story in this game is that she's really forced to take on other people as help. So in the previous one, she really was like, no, I'm doing everything on my own. But in this game, she's really forced to take on a bit of a crew to help her out and help defeat the bad things that are happening. And yeah, I kind of was a little bit unsure if a sequel would work or not, especially with how the first one ended, but I think this one worked really, really, really well, and it ended on a bit of a cliffhanger, so we're definitely getting a third game in the series, and really excited to play that because I'm sure it'll be amazing. But as far as the world goes, the world is massive. It is such a big world, much bigger than the original game, and also the combat is definitely much, much better. There's more machines to defeat as well as the old classics that you had in the previous game, but I definitely felt like the combat was much, much more deep, had a lot more depth to it, and it really does make you have to think about the combat. So you have to really be clever with your tactics and what weapons you use to what kind of machines you're using, but you also do have bad people in there as well, so you have to treat them differently as well. But yeah, the combat is really good. The weapons work really, really well with the DualSense, like I said, with the haptic feedback. So yeah, it's definitely one that you should definitely get for the PlayStation 5. A lot of the exclusives are obviously going to be better at showing off the console's features, and this is definitely true of this game. Yeah, just an absolutely beautiful game. The scenery is so beautiful. You get to go to far more different looking areas, so snow, you see bits of San Francisco, beaches, forests, like quags, all sorts. It's just such a beautiful looking game, and I can't recommend it enough. So one game that I feel that people were really excited for when it first was announced, but kind of flew off the radar a bit when it actually came out, is Kina Bridge of Spirits. Now, this game was absolutely beautiful. It was one of the first games that I played on the PlayStation 5. I really love this game. It's such a lovely looking game as well. I really like the art style. It's not hyper realistic, it's a bit more cartoony, and it's kind of a bit more cutesy looking without being too cartoonish, if that makes sense. So the scenery does look a bit realistic, but not hyper realistic, and I really love the design of Kina and the little black things in it, which I've completely forgotten the name of, but they are so, so, so cute. There are so many features in this game that I really enjoyed, and the little guys that you can get them little hats, and you collect lots of them. You get them hats, they sort of sit on your lap, you can sort of play with them. They are so, so cute. But yeah, I really enjoyed the story. I thought it was really moving. The combat was surprisingly difficult. I actually played this on easy because I really struggled with it, but I'm also not that good of a gamer, so you know, maybe it was just me, but it was really challenging. Really, really enjoyed the combat systems, and it was one of those types of games where you unlock more and more features as you go along, and you'll need those features to defeat certain enemies. So it definitely keeps you engaged and sort of gatekeeps a lot of features so that you don't get bored of the combat. Some people like that, some people don't. I thought it worked really well in this game. Story was really moving, like I said. She is kind of like a spirit keeper, so she kind of helps spirits move on to the other side if they've got unfinished business in the world. And yeah, it's just like a really nice story about sort of afterlife and sort of getting through things, and yeah, I just thought it was a really touching message, so definitely recommend it. It's not a super long game, it was maybe about 15 hours, but if you really wanted to play more of it, there's lots of features and collectibles that you can do, so you can get lots of time out of this game if you so wish. But yeah, recommend this one as a PlayStation 5 exclusive. Another great game that's come out and is very topical with the release of Spider-Man 2 is Miles Morales. Now, this is kind of an in-between Spider-Man 1 and Spider-Man 2, and I really enjoyed Spider-Man 1 on the PlayStation 4. Thought it was a really great game. This is even better. So if you really liked the first Spider-Man game, you will love this game too. I really like Miles Morales' character. I've really enjoyed all the films that Sony have been doing, the cartoony ones, the Spider-Verse. I'm not a massive superhero fan, but definitely enjoying the Spider-Man, especially on the PlayStation games and the Spider-Verse films. This is no different. Now, really fun game to play. The swinging mechanics are of course amazing. It is so much fun to swing through Brooklyn. It's so smooth. It's just got such a lovely mechanic to it. And you will purposely go to the other side of the map swinging just because you want to do more swinging around on your web. The combat is really fluid, it's really fun, it's got lots of depth to it, there's lots of things that you can unlock, gadgets and stuff. Miles Morales loves his gadgets, so there's loads of those. Of course, there's lots of collectibles that you can go around and do, beating different enemy dens, also collecting all the suits, collecting all the various collectibles that are around the city. So I ended up doing quite a lot of collectibles just because I wanted an excuse to go around the map a lot more. Yeah, it's a super fun game. There's lots of the classic enemies that you get to beat basically in the game, and yeah, I really liked the story. I thought it was really moving, very emotional, and I was really invested in the characters in this game. And yeah, just thought it was such a good game. It's not a long game either, so if you're really short on time and you don't want to play through the Spider-Man 2 game just yet, this is about 10 hours, so you will get through it really quickly if you want to. Yeah, I played it maybe in about 5 sittings and absolutely love this game. Can't recommend it enough. I can't talk about the PlayStation 5 without talking about one of the Like a Dragon games. One of the first games to come out on the PlayStation 5 is Like a Dragon Ishin. Now, I really enjoyed this game. It is so different to the other Yakuza games. Basically, you're in the samurai era, so you're going way back in time. It's kind of a spin-off, so you're playing as one of Kiryu's ancestors, and he is a samurai. Now, instead of having your fists, you have your sword and you have your shotguns, and you can sort of flip between 4 different ways of fighting with your fists, with your sword, with double swords, and with guns as well. So it's got so many fun battle mechanics in it. I really enjoyed it, and you get to walk around Kyoto, but the old Kyoto, and it was really beautiful. The map is very small, which is kind of in the style of a lot of Yakuza games. If you've played them before, you'll know that the Yakuza maps aren't particularly big, but they're very detailed, very in-depth, and you will want to explore every single corner of it, and it doesn't get boring somehow, which is something that I think people don't realise because we're so spoiled with massive open world maps that when you have a small map you're almost a bit disappointed. But I never feel that way with the Yakuza games. They are so well thought out with their maps. It's a very serious story, like with all Yakuza and Like a Dragon games, but it does have that reprieve with the very silly side quests. It's no different. There's lots of fun mini games in it, but they're obviously different to the previous ones because it's a historic based game. So yeah, it's just really different. It's got kind of karaoke in it, but older style, and I just loved playing it. I think it was a really nice change from the pace of the rest of the series. It's nice to go back in time and play as a samurai. I thought that was such a fun way of presenting these games, and yeah, I thought it was a really great game. Really recommend it. If you've never played a Like a Dragon game, this is probably a good place to start as well, because like I said, it's kind of a prequel, so it's not attached to any of the other games, so you can definitely pick it up if you've never played the series before. And then if you enjoy the mechanics, you know the mechanics are going to be like that in the other games as well, so definitely a good place to start with the Yakuza games if you haven't. But if you are a long-standing fan, you definitely need to play this as well. Really great game, and it looked fantastic too. So one game that I really recommend playing that I don't actually have physically because it wasn't really released physically is Astros Playroom. Now, if you've heard of Astrobot before, there was a VR game that came before that really played around with the VR's features, and Astros Playroom is no different but with the PlayStation 5. Now, I loved this game. I thought it was such a great game. It's so much fun. It really plays with the PlayStation 5's features, so you really get to grips with the features of the PlayStation 5. It feels like one of those PlayStation 2 era games where it was just really fun, really experimental. You feel like a kid playing it again. It's got such fun mechanics. The levels are really fun. They're just so playful, and that's what I really loved about the game. And there's not too many games around like that at the moment, and it's one of the games that I think just really shows off the PlayStation 5 really well, and I feel like a kid when I'm playing it, which is what I think I really loved about it. It's a very short game, it only takes you a couple of hours, but you can platinum it quite easily if you want to go around and do all the collectibles. But yeah, it's just so much fun to play, and definitely recommend you give it a go as well. So I am playing through 2 games at the moment, so I wanted to talk about them a little bit as well. So I'm playing Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core Reunion, which is obviously a remaster of the, I think it's PSP version of the game, and yeah, I'm really enjoying it. It's definitely improved a lot of the mechanics from what I've heard. I didn't play on the PSP, so I don't know, but it definitely looks really good. But it's not like a graphically, it's not a PlayStation 5 game, put it that way, but it does look good. It's been remastered. It's got really fun fight mechanics. It's a bit more like the Final Fantasy VII, where it's sort of like more like a hack and slash game rather than turn-based. But yeah, it's a super fun addition to the franchise. Really enjoying it so far. Very battle heavy. I don't feel like the story is that deep so far, but I haven't minded that too much. But yeah, I really like all the different summons that you can get as well. They look really cool, and that's one of the things about Final Fantasy games that I do enjoy. All the summons just look really awesome, and they're really fun to unlock. But yeah, it's a super fun game. I wouldn't recommend paying more than £20 for it if you do want to get it. I don't think it's worth more than £20 just because it is a remaster rather than a remake, but yeah, do give it a go if you have a chance to. And of course, the other game I'm going to be talking about is the other Like a Dragon game. Now, of course, this didn't have a Western physical release, which I'm very sad about, but I did buy it digitally, and I'm going to try and buy an imported version, so I do have a physical version of it in my collection. But it's such a good game. Like a Dragon Gaiden, Man Who Erased His Name, not a super catchy name, but I am loving it. It basically takes place after Yakuza 6, so you're playing as Kiryu, but basically he is an undercover agent. The mechanics, the gameplay mechanics are pretty much the same as all the other Yakuza games, but the fighting styles are different. They're more like an agent style, but you do also have the Yakuza version fighting as well. But yeah, I really like the agent one. It's got some very wacky moves in it. It almost looks a bit supernatural at times, but it is super fun. And it's definitely one of those games where they were like, we know people love the side missions and all these side quests and all the mini games, so we're going to throw everything in it. And it's got everything from pocket circuit racing to all the cabaret clubs, which are live action, which is a bit jolting, but they're still really fun to play. And then you've also got the golf, and you've got, yeah, it's just got everything in it. You've got gambling, and it's also got the arena, and yeah, you can play so much time into the side quests, and I've played about 25 hours of it. I've still not completed the game. Most of it's been playing all the side missions and the mini games. The actual story isn't that long. I think it's only about 10 hours, so it's probably a good starting point if you are a bit unsure about the series. And sometimes the stories can be a bit long. They're very cutscene heavy, they're very dramatic, they're very intense and dark. So if you really don't want to sink too much time into a game and don't know where to start, I think Like a Dragon Gaiden Man Who Erased His Name is a really good starting point for you. I think it will make you fall in love with the series. It certainly has with me. It's probably one of the better looking games of the entire franchise, and yeah, it's just so amazing. I really hope we get another one like this again. Really love playing as Kiryu again. I've really missed him, and hopefully we get more games as Kiryu, but I don't know because they did say his story was over. But really fun game. I'm enjoying it so much, and I'm just enjoying taking my time with it, which sometimes I just want to get through the story and that's it, and I don't really want to do the side quests. But with this game, I'm like, no, I need to do everything in this game. So it is a really great game, and yeah, like I said, I cannot recommend it enough. So definitely go and play it, especially if you've not played any of the Yakuza games. So a few games that I'm looking forward to playing that I've got in my collection, and a few that are coming out soon that I'm excited to play. So of course, God of War Ragnarok is in the collection. These aren't really my types of games, but the God of War game was amazing on the PlayStation 4. I thought it was a really beautiful looking game. So much fun with the combat, the story was amazing, and yeah, just the mythology is really fun in the God of War games, and I love that about the game. So very excited to play God of War Ragnarok. I've heard it's pretty much as good, if not better, than the first game, so yeah, excited for this one. And I have a few wild cards in here. So I have Away, which I know is a bit of a janky game, but it does look really fun. You play as a sugar glider, basically trying to survive, essentially. And it just looks really fun. It's kind of done in a David Attenborough narration kind of style, and it was one of the first games that came out on the PlayStation 5. Yeah, it just looks like a super fun game. Not a very long one. It is an independent game, so I'm not expecting it to be AAA style, but it does look super fun, so I'll update you on this one. Now, Ghostwire is another one that came out very early in the PlayStation release, and I kind of just let it fall off of my radar because it wasn't something I was like, yes, I need to play that, but it does look super fun and we do now own it, so I'm going to play this at some point too. And the idea of just walking around Tokyo is always going to be super appealing to me, so of course I had to pick it up and play it at some point. Another one that I've got is King of Fighters 15. Now, King of Fighters is a super fun fighting game, and I've played a few of them, sort of the previous ones, and I've always really liked the art style. I think it's really fun. It's got much more of like a drawn style to it, maybe a bit more cel shady, I guess is the word for it, but it does look super fun. Very excited to play this one. I think I picked it up for like £5 brand new, which is really cheap. But yeah, great games. Not got around to playing it yet, but I am in a fighting game mood, so this will probably be next on my list. Definitely a bit of a wild card in here is the Star Trek Prodigy Supernova game. Now, I believe this is like a Nickelodeon cartoon series for Star Trek. I've not watched it. I don't really know anything about it. I don't know where it takes place in the Star Trek universe. I love Star Trek personally, but I've not really bonded with a lot of the new series, so it'd be interesting to have a play of this game, see what I think of it. It's got much more of like a top-down diagonal viewpoint. It doesn't look like it's super high graphical style or anything, but it's apparently not a very long game. It's much more of like a fighting game, so very interested to give this a play and see what it's like. If you've watched the series, let me know if it's any good and if I should be watching it, because I don't know, should I waste my time on it? Let me know. And last but not least is obviously another Like a Dragon game. So Like a Dragon 8, which is Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, is going to be the sequel to Like a Dragon that came out 2 years ago, I think it is. That's going to be using Ichiban's story, and I loved Ichiban. He is such a new fun main character to play as. He's a lot more silly and a bit stupid compared to Kiryu, but he's still a really fun character to play as. The turn-based combat was super fun and definitely a big change from the previous games, but really enjoyed it. I thought it worked really well, and it was so engaging. It didn't feel like turn-based combat, because sometimes I feel a bit disengaged with turn-based. It's not my favourite fighting style, but with Like a Dragon I thought it was amazing, so really excited to play it. It's looking like a massive game, like it's super fun. The previous one was about 50 hours to play through for me, so I'm expecting this to be the same. It's taking place in Hawaii as well, which I'm very excited about. All the other games take place in Japan, so I can't wait to see what they do with it and how they sort of adapt it to a different country and see how they sort of incorporate that into the story and the gameplay. Yeah, I'm just really excited for it. That's coming out in March, so I can't wait. It's got a demo in the Like a Dragon Gaiden that I'm going to play through once I finish the game. And yeah, I'm so excited for that game, as you can probably tell. Well, that's pretty much it from me. I think I've geeked out enough about the PlayStation 5. I've probably missed out a ton of games that I'm excited for, but that's all I can think of off the top of my head. Let me know down in the comments what games you've really liked playing on the PlayStation 5 so far. If you recommend any specific ones that I should play as well, let me know down below, because I always love hearing your recommendations. In the meantime, don't forget to follow me on social so you can keep up to date with everything that's coming out, and thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!